People need to know that black lives and brown lives matter as much as white lives. It's what we still have to aspire to. I said it yesterday, I believe it. This is not just a problem in New York City. It is an American problem, an American challenge. Shirlane and I have had to talk to Dante for years about the dangers that he may face. Good young man, law-abiding young man who never would think to do anything wrong, and yet, because of a history that still hangs over us, the dangers he may face, we've had to literally train him, as families have all over this city for decades, in how to take special care in any encounter he has with the police officers who are there to protect him. We're not just dealing with a problem in 2014. We're not dealing with years of racism leading up to it, or decades of racism. We are dealing with centuries of racism that have brought us to this day. That is how profound the crisis is.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio doubling down today on his claim that racism is a crisis in America and is being seen in these cases out of Ferguson and Staten Island. The mayor going so far as to say that he's been worried about the safety of his biracial teenage son whenever his son leaves the house. Joining me now, Sheriff David Clarke of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. He's been speaking out recently on the issues of race and law enforcement. Sheriff, good to see you again tonight. And your thoughts on Mayor de Blasio suggesting that what we're dealing with here, what we're seeing in Ferguson and Staten Island, is the result of centuries of racism.
Well, again, irresponsible rhetoric. There's no doubt about it. Mayor de Blasio is placating to a segment of people in New York, and I find it shameful. I'm still waiting for some effective leadership, starting with reasonable messaging to kind of get so that we can get our arms around this thing and start moving in the direction that we need to move in. Look, Megan, I come from both perspectives here. I grew up a black male in America, and for the last 37 years I've lived in a police culture. These two things are compatible. But what's going on here is, look, slavery left a stain on the soul of this nation. We all know that. But that wound is starting to heal, and it's been healing for a long time. But now we have a segment of people who are picking at that scar, hoping to reopen it and take us back to a time that simply doesn't exist today. We've come a long way in terms of improved race relations here in the United States. White society, I think, has done a credible job of trying to right those wrongs and realizing they can't hold us back anymore, that we can only hold ourselves back.
What about his comments about his son? I mean, does that not sound plausible to you, that he would have to have that discussion with his son, who appears as a black man, that he needs to be extra careful with law enforcement, and that needs to change?
Well, fortunately, his son is going to grow up with a male role model, a father figure in his life, much like I did. My dad was my role model. My dad taught me how to deal with the world. Look, there was an example when I was a young kid, 15-year-old punk, and a squad car drove by the house, and I put up the black power signal, just kind of taunting the police. The police backed the car up, came up, and my dad came out of the house, and he walked up respectfully. He said, "Officer, is there a problem?" And he said, "We thought your son was flagging us down." He said, "I'll handle this." My father told me to get in the house. He said, "Why are you screwing with the police? Knock it off." See, it's about respect for authority. We have a large segment of black males growing up in America, in America's urban ghettos, that don't have father figures in their lives. So these kids grow up with a chip on their shoulder and with rage, and anytime they come into contact with an authority figure, and it isn't just the police, Megan, it starts at home, where they don't accept the authority coming from mom or dad. They don't accept the authority coming from a teacher. They don't accept the authority coming from a boss. And they also don't do it with the police. So what we need to do is figure out how to guide these young men in this very tough period of time and teach them to deal with authority. Look, the police are in charge. When the police tell you to get out of the road, you get out of the road. When the police tell you to put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail, you put your hands behind your back. What I tell people all the time is, look, comply with the lawful orders of the police, and we'll deal with the grievance later. Because when you go into a situation where you're going to confront the law enforcement officer, you're going to lose, and you should lose. So I tell them, comply, and we'll deal with it later.
Last question, I need a quick answer. Then why are some folks so determined to say that this isn't about a lack of respect for authority, this is about whites being racist against blacks, white cops in particular?
Well, again, they're just trying to open an old wound, as if the Civil War was fought last year, and we need to continue to push back with sound reasoning, with level heads, and that's the only way you can confront the irresponsible rhetoric that we're hearing coming out of some very powerful people.
Sheriff Clarke, it's great to see you again, sir.
My pleasure, Megan.
All the best to you.